Hey friend, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to walk you through my process of how I paint a wedding bouquet with watercolor. It's something I do pretty frequently, so I thought I'd make a fun video. So I start by just looking through reference photos, make sure I have a really good idea of what kind of flowers were used, what the composition was, and once I feel good, I get my supplies ready. So for this painting I'm using hot press paper 9x12, a F pencil, which I find is the best for removing the markings after the painting is completely dry. And then I use just some basic masking tape and I tape it down to a hard surface. And the reason I do that is so that it doesn't buckle, it doesn't warp under all the water that I'm going to use. So for this painting, I just kind of generally get the placement right, very lightly, placing the flowers where I want them to be, placing the leaves where I want them to be, and then I'll go back and I'll start adding detail. But it's really important to just make sure I have all the placement right before I start getting into the detailed sketch. But sketching a bouquet is so important. You need to get the sketch right before you start painting. It is the most important part. Once I have my sketch ready, probably took me about 30 minutes, I start to get my palette ready. And I generally don't like to just mix as I go. I like to have all the colors I want to use ready before I start painting. And I do this because I want to have a lot of intentionality in the colors I'm using. I like to have a mixture of cool, warm tones, so some cool red, some warm red, cool green, warm green. And I find that having the complement of warm and cool colors is what's going to make the bouquet feel a bit more lifelike. And once I have my colors mixed, it is time for my favorite part, painting. And in this bouquet, I wanted to start with this pink rose. I'm not really sure why. Maybe roses are just the most familiar to me. When I first started painting, maybe 6-7 years ago, roses were the subject matter of choice. I really wanted to learn how to paint a rose well. So I remember painting sheets of roses. My technique here was that I was using a brush to drop color and then I was using a different brush to smooth color. And that brush that I was using to smooth was just a damp, clean brush. And it's kind of how I get that gradient effect on the petals. One thing about painting bouquets is they can be kind of intimidating. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of flowers, a lot of details, a lot of shadows, a lot of overlap. It's kind of a lot. And so I think you can get kind of intimidated if you look at it as a whole, even though it is important to acknowledge that it is going to be seen as a whole. But when I'm painting, I have to look at it as one tiny little piece at a time. And when you break it down like that, it becomes a lot easier. It's kind of just one little step at a time, one little piece at a time. And then as you go, you're going to be more and more surprised at how the whole is kind of taking shape. It's really exciting, but you have to do it one tiny step at a time. I think part of the beauty of painting bouquets is that you're painting something that's never existed before. And hear me out, you might say, well, everybody's painted flowers before. But with a bouquet, it's its own unique, specific, one-of-a-kind piece of art. And even each photo of a bouquet is its own unique piece of art where all of the flowers are positioned slightly different. The leaves hang over flowers in a different way in each photo. And I'm always just really moved by that, by the fact that I'm seeing this one fraction of a second in time and I'm memorializing it on paper. And it's just, I think it's a really beautiful, special, unique thing. And I'm always really honored and privileged to be able to create these for people who I hope are going to cherish it. It's really not uncommon that I'll start painting a certain type of flower or poppy, seed, whatever, leaf, where I'll start I'll look at it and just feel kind of intimidated about how to paint it. And in those situations, my advice would be take a good long look at your reference, squint your eyes. Squinting your eyes helps you see, well, it helps me see what different color values are in there. And always start really light. You can add dark color later, but once you add a lot of dark colors, it's kind of hard to get that lightness back. So just gradually build color in washes and really light washes, and you'll get there. I think you'll surprise yourself by what you're able to do. Also, I don't know what it is, but I love painting leaves. It's very therapeutic. I don't have to think about it as hard. I don't know if it's just because it's one color, but I love it. So as I sit here and think about painting and think about the process, I kind of realized that painting with a sketch underneath it is kind of like painting with a coloring book. But I won't sell myself short. I did do that sketch, and that sketch was not that easy. I think that sketching is the hardest part of painting. I often just want to jump right into the painting and skip drawing altogether, but I always like my paintings better when I do take the time to sketch and think through the process first. But, color is just so much more fun than a little gray stick, isn't it? Maybe you disagree. I love paintbrushes. I think that they're so versatile, and there's something about using them that is just so satisfying to me. I love that you can use a paintbrush to lay down paint. You can use it for large areas, like you can see in this leaf. I'm covering a lot of space by just pushing it down, but then I can use that little tip to paint some fine details. You can use a paintbrush to drop paint. You can use a paintbrush to lift paint. You can use a paintbrush to smooth out lines. There's just so many uses to it, and the more comfortable I become with it, the more I can do with it. And I just love it. It's so much fun. Painting is so much fun. Can you tell that I like painting? I like painting. One of my friends texted me this morning and asked if there was a big difference between cold press and hot press paper. You might notice that on that bottom leaf, that red leaf, it kind of looks like the paper is kind of crumbling. And I'm not really sure why hot press does that, but I find that that goes away and that it does dry really smooth and really even. But hot press is a very different feel and texture to traditional cold press paper. I think that cold press is beautiful. I love the way it dries. I love the texture of the paper. It's absolutely gorgeous. But for some reason, I just really enjoy the smoothness of hot press paper. I like both of them, don't get me wrong. I like it all, but hot press is great for more detailed paintings, I think. I'm able to get the look I'm really going for a little bit more easily with hot press paper. Getting into the finishing touches here, I decided that rose was a little too pale pink. It needed to be a little bit more vibrant, so luckily I didn't go too dark too quickly. I was still able to layer on that deep rich color, and I'm really happy with how that one turned out. So after I finish painting, I remove all the masking tape from the edges, I erase all those pencil markings, and sign my name. And there you go, finished product. This one was so much fun to work on. Thanks so much for watching this video. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.